2. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. In September 1901, in Buffalo, President William McKinley was struck by an assassin's bullet. Standing by to step into the breach was a strong young man, only 43 years of age, a fighter, Colonel Teddy of the Rough Riders, hero of San Juan Hill, the man who had told Dewey to take Manila in the event of war with Spain, the man whom we also remember for preaching the doctrine of a strenuous life, saying, "As for me, I am as strong as a bull moose. And speak softly and carry a big stick. You will go far. This, I believe, is the best policy for America." Ironically, this man of such great vigor and forthrightness, seen here at his Oyster Bay home, was to lose the 1912 election to Wilson, and in 1920, though considered a shoo-in as a nominee, was to die just before the nominating convention. One of the most daring of early pictures, For His Son, dramatizes drug addiction, a subject most movie makers were wary of until 1960 ushered in a more relaxed censorship code. The film was made in New York in 1911 and released in 1912. The doctor is played by Charles Males. His son is planning to be married. The doctor is wondering whether one of his prescriptions might be commercially marketable. The son is played by Arthur Johnson and his fiancée by Blanche Sweet, at a time when Blanche was just taking over Mary Pickford's place as D.W. Griffith's #1 leading lady. Arthur Johnson had played the lead in Griffith's first film, The Adventures of Dolly, and by now had a loyal fan following, even though Biograph didn't bill leads as stars. Many new soft drinks were coming on the market at this time. As the government had charged that Coca-Cola contained cocaine, the public was suspicious of such drinks, though perhaps some Coca-Cola drinkers hoped the charges were true. Originally, soft drinks were mixed at the counter. You've probably heard the legend of the chap who walked into the Coca-Cola company offices and asked for $1 million for the contents of a sealed envelope, and got it. The contents were 2 written words: "Bottle it." Not the least daring aspect of this 1912 film is the showing of a doctor in violation of his oath, holding the medical profession up to contempt. The government had sued Coca-Cola in 1909 under the then new Pure Food and Drug Act, lost and appealed, so the case was at this time still dragging on. The government insisted that coca leaves and cola nuts, on which Coca-Cola's secret formula was based, had cocaine content. The company insisted that even if it had been there, it had been extracted. The most that tests showed in the formula was caffeine, and since coffee, tea, and even cocoa had some caffeine, as did 39 other contemporary soft drinks, the court was not convinced. The secretary is played by Dorothy Bernard, a lifetime professional. Miss Bernard's career was to last through such stage successes as Life with Father. Regardless of the court outcome, the subject was highly controversial, and this film was taken very seriously. A segment of the public accused Coca-Cola of making caffeine addicts out of little children, and the slang expression for Coca-Cola at the time was dope. So the heat was really on the company in 1912, much of it from rival soft drink manufacturers, some of which had been sued by Coca-Cola earlier because of their names, such as Toca-Cola, being too similar. In the big shakeout, Coca-Cola emerged as the first really popular carbonated drink. And, of course, the image of cocaine content has long faded out. But the movie industry was still small in 1912, and most of the first movie makers were anti-big business, so this biased treatment of the subject isn't surprising. Also, the early films often dealt with alcoholism. The doctor brings his son to his office and laboratory, apparently for the first time. An actual syringe, shown on the screen in 1912, when even an automobile or a chorus girl or a kiss had huge audience impact. Many generations later, it's hard to appreciate the wallop this film must have carried at the time. Rejected by his fiancée, he returns to his father's secretary. The secretary's mother is still unaware of the problem. In the 1912 one-reel feature format, long passages of time were often most abrupt. Although at this earliest period there were few films on narcotics, after Wally Reed died at the height of his career, a victim of addiction, his widow, Dorothy Davenport, produced two films crusading against drugs. The assistant and the father finally catch up with what has happened. In the later silent and early sound period, sensationalized exploitation films often dealt with drug addiction. But major studios always shied away from the subject. Apart from censorship, it was conscientiously felt that any attention it gave ran the risk of encouraging experimentation by gullible members of the audience. When the movies did begin to make serious drug films, they were usually commercial failures, so no major cycle ever developed. And that was For His Son, Biograph, 1912. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. The 1917 Thomas Ince production, The Clodhopper, with Charles Ray, will be presented in three parts, of which this program is the first. Clodhopper, in farm parlance, was a genially derogatory label for someone clumsy and usually not very bright. Marjorie Wilson had played in Griffith's Intolerance the year before and was also in several films opposite John Gilbert. Our setting is Beeler's Bend, New Hampshire. There's to be a carnival there on the 4th of July, and Everett is confident he won't have to work that day. Neither Clodhopper Everett nor his mother can get much money out of father. With his overgrown boyish innocence, Charles Ray was a combination Henry Fonda, Gary Cooper, and Jimmy Stewart of his day. Known throughout the world as the barefoot boy with cheeks of tan, he established a new type of movie hero and was later to have many imitators. The townsfolk figure if Nelson will hang on to their money as tightly as his own, it'll be pretty safe. Everett overhears the ugly pronouncement. There was no talking back to such a father. In Everett's boyish impatience, we see the stuff of which Horatio Alger movie heroes are made. But before success, more hardship. Everett's only dress-up suit. He's been looking over a new one in the mail-order catalog. Father has been looking over the farmer's almanac. Your eye may have caught the date in the almanac, 1919. The titles of the film were updated for the picture's 1919 reissue. Shows more than old-fashioned American thrift. He's downright parsimonious, rather like a character out of Dickens. Patience in the face of unjust discipline. This was one of the ingredients of the Charles Ray charm, and of the many hits he made as a country bumpkin who goes on to bigger and better things. Pictures like Greased Lightning, The Sheriff's Son, Hayfoot Strawfoot, and 45 Minutes from Broadway. In this story, his patience and benevolence all come from his mother. She has secretly been saving money from selling rugs, which she's woven at night after Pa's asleep. And though she had planned to use the money for the silk dress, she really used it to get a surprise for Everett. He is overwhelmed, but he shows it by one of the bashful squirms so typical of Charles Ray. Straightforward, honest, and socially untutored. Pa's off for town in the buckboard. Apparently, he's even keeping the bank open on the 4th of July. Everett tries on the new suit, but says, "Gosh, Ma, I can't go to the carnival anyway." For the first time, they decide to try to put one over on Father. a hat, too, Ma. Everett, the fashion plate, calls for Mary. She, too, has a brand new outfit. And so off they go to the Beeler's Bend Carnival, while Mother, in true maternal sacrifice, tries to get the sewing done all by herself. Mary has other admirers. Charlie Ray was the original small-town boy of the movies. Born in Illinois, he did a little stage work and at 18 became an extra in Hollywood. It took him about 5 years to make an impression. Then he hit hard, and by 1920, he was making $10,000 a week. However, success was to last only a few years. The sad story of the collapse of the Charles Ray career we'll get to on our other next 2 programs of The Clodhopper. Right now, Charlie, as Everett Nelson, has found Mary again. At any carnival worth its name, you went in the potato sack race or tried bagging the greased pig. Uh-oh, Pa is back early and he sees Ma in the field alone. Adding 2 and 2, he drives off toward the carnival, where Everett is watching the bucking mule. With the persistence of a young Henry Ford or a Thomas Edison, he'll try it just once more. His persistence pays off, but Pa just managed to catch the whole goings-on, and of course Everett will be punished. But is his success with a stubborn mule a sample of much greater success to come? As they say in the serials, we'll see in our next 2 programs, parts 2 and 3 of the 1917 Thomas Ince classic, The Clodhopper with Charles Ray. Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter-century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. this Movie Museum program, we continue with the 1917 Triangle Thomas Ince classic, The Clodhopper. It's the 4th of July at the Nelson Farm in Beeler's Bend, New Hampshire. Young Everett, played by Charles Ray, was caught by his heartless father at the town carnival when he was supposed to have been working in the fields. The stylish new suit had been a secret gift from his sympathetic mother. Everett won't tell on her, but she is ready to face the music herself. For the first time, Pa's obsession with thrift and hard work has been challenged, and he explodes. Everett can't believe he struck his own father, even to protect his mother. Charles Ray's roles always showed him as shy and unaggressive. For years after Ray's decline, movie people would speak of shy heroes as Charles Ray types. Unlike latter-day stars who wisely established types and stuck to them, Jimmy Stewart, for example, Charles Ray curiously misjudged his own talent. By 1921, he had become a top box office star and a millionaire. Then, after his 1922 picture, The Girl I Love, with lovely Patsy Ruth Miller, he insisted on trying more sophisticated roles. In several years, he was bankrupt. Not realized the public just didn't want him to change. He even turned down a $5,000 a week MGM contract because it called for shy, boyish roles. Everett says goodbye to his sweetheart Mary, played by Marjorie Wilson. Mother discovers the torn-up picture as Everett leaves Beeler's Bend for the big city. Alone in Manhattan, looking among the imposing 1917 skyscrapers for a job. Janitor wanted. Well, he was pretty good at cleaning up the farm at Beeler's Bend. The Hollywood concept of a Broadway musical rehearsal. As basically unreal then as such scenes were still to be a half-century later. And already in the best Hollywood tradition, the show is about to open and there's no star. Everett has never been inside a theater and, of course, never been exposed to chorus girls, especially girls as exposed as these. Of course, it's a foregone conclusion that Charlie, as Everett, will wind up as the big star of the show. But what fun Ray and the Triangle studio people have prolonging the process. Triangle, incidentally, was the company formed in 1916, a year before this picture, by three pioneer producers, Sennett, Ince, and Griffith. Seligman plays a hunch. Everett thinks he's auditioning for the janitor's job. The leading lady thinks it's terrible, but Seligman sees something. Who, me? Yes, I think you may have something. Corny, but that's what may put it over. And so Everett Nelson makes his first $10 in New York. A postcard for Mrs. Nelson. I have reached New York, and it is a mighty big town. Pa brings in the newspaper, but Ma knows well there was more mail than that. This Palais Royal Theater Cafe is a replica of the actual Palais Royal at Broadway and 48th Street. Paul Whiteman was featured there about this time. Later, it was Lew Walter's Latin Quarter. Other popular spots at the time were Murray's Roman Gardens with its revolving bar, and the Winter Garden, a regular theater, of course, but having a runway. He's thinking he'd almost rather be back home getting the strap from Pa. But the audience doesn't know how real this bashfulness is and finds it charming. And so starts a fad. In the teens, hundreds of new dances were invented and discarded. The period was hectic, of course, and the dances reflected the public mood. The toddle, the foxtrot, the castle walk, and in this half-satirical story, it's the clodhopper glide, as carefree as any of them. As the stage show ends, to use the name of another song written a few years earlier about another dance, the Turkey Trot, everybody's doing it. Although a star now, Everett is as shy as ever. $5,000 bonus. Everett feels he should give back the salary. Here is the real humility that later was to be expected of performers in the mid-50s, but never again thereafter. The news reaches even Beeler's Bend. Everett Nelson, the boy with $10,000 feet. Of course, Pa's anger will turn to gratitude, as we'll see in the final part of The Clodhopper, starring Charles Ray, in our next program. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. With this program, we conclude the 1917 Thomas Ince feature, The Clodhopper, with Charles Ray. Everett Nelson, Mr. Ray, has made a tremendous hit on the stage in New York. Even the kids in the street are dancing his step, the Clodhopper Glide. Actually, it's all a little like the story of Charles Ray in real life. Bashful farm boy overcomes humble beginnings to rock Broadway via Hollywood. Back in his hometown, Beeler's Bend, New Hampshire, it's a far different story. Everett's father, stubborn old Ike Nelson, president of the local bank, is in trouble. Mr. Nelson, who had abused his son and scorns his new prosperity, had invested bank funds in a canning factory. The manager tells Ike it looks like a run on the bank. Bank runs occurred more easily and more often before the Federal Deposit Insurance System was set up at the time of the 1933 bank holiday, especially in the rural areas where personal gossip had quicker effect. One of the worst bank crises of this century was the money panic of 1907, when even some of the big New York banks failed, with lines of depositors crowding the Wall Street section until the bankers met at Morgan's and set up their own pool to guarantee deposits. Word travels like wildfire from farm to farm. Thomas Ince, who produced this picture, shared with D.W. Griffith the ability to do something that the stage could never do, create fast-mounting excitement via intercutting and a mobile camera. Like many of the biggest silent stars, Pickford, Fairbanks, Swanson, Charles Ray tried producing his own pictures. Unlike them, he had little business sense. To his credit, he wanted to make pictures of real artistic merit, but rather stubbornly tried to do too much too soon. His venture was a disaster. His cash reserves of over $1 million, his huge house, his fleet of autos, and his staff of servants were all rapid casualties. Ironically, for film history, the one film principally responsible for Ray's downfall, The Courtship of Miles Standish, no longer exists. So critics can't even console themselves with the thought that perhaps his sacrifice was worthwhile. Mary says all right, she'll go to New York. Mary arrives at Grand Central Terminal, Vanderbilt Avenue entrance. By the 1970s, there would be no train service from New Hampshire to New York. In his rooms, Everett is thinking about spending part of his new thousands on a home. He thinks of Mary and of the high price of the home, $1,088. However, he must now go out to work in the Palais Royal Revue, in which he's such a hit. Mary pulls up, and into their first meeting since the night he left Beeler's Bend. Mary is played by Marjorie Wilson, who also played opposite William S. Hart the same year. Everett wonders how she happened to come. Is her mother with her? No, she came alone. Father decides to try to get help from another bank. Often in a bank-run situation, one bank would bail out or absorb another. In some states, the bank directors were held personally responsible on a double indemnity basis. But Ike Nelson's reputation as a tightwad has made him unpopular even in the adjoining counties. Again, Everett's sterling sense of justice is strained. All he can think of is the night he left home when Pa beat him for protecting his mother and for going to the town carnival on the 4th of July instead of working. He knows he should save his money. Who knows how long he'll be making this much? Give up buying the house? Go back to Beeler's Bend? Bail out his cross old father? Will he make such a sacrifice? 1917 audiences knew he would. He had done it many times before and would keep on doing it in films with charmingly innocent titles like 9 O'Clock Town and Alarm Clock Andy. But this time, maybe it won't be in time. The depositors are angry and it's almost time for the bank to open. So often, what happened in real life since these movie museum pictures were made spotlights ironic parallels. For instance, after the mid-20s, Charles Ray was as broke as his father is in this picture. He played some non-bashful roles, but they didn't pay off. Nobody believed him when he played the millionaire hero, looking ill at ease in a dress suit. Ray did extra and bit roles in talkies and ran a florist shop. He wrote scripts that didn't sell and was divorced by his wife, Clara. He went bankrupt again and finally died at 52 from a throat infection. A Of course, it was evident from the first scenes of the film that Pa Nelson, who had paid his son $1 a week for 7 days' work on the farm, would eventually need Son's help. And the young in the audiences relished this extreme, virtually caricatured picture of parental irrationality. Of course, with all his newly earned thousands, Everett Nelson can't actually cover all the bank's accounts, but he's thought of a clever scheme. With it all in $1 bills, it will take hours to count each depositor's share. The important thing, he knows, is that those waiting see the others get paid. He has a sense of public relations his father never dreamed of. He also has cash. And so, with just $5,000 in ones, he has turned the tide. The depositors even want to put their money back in the bank. Pa sees it, but he doesn't want to believe it. It's long been a classic movie or literary situation. The conservative older generation, grown up the hard way, finally having to acknowledge the ability of youth. And here, a lifetime of old-fashioned theory is shattered by an hour of dynamic action. It's a far cry from the first scenes of the film when Everett, with Ma and Mary rooting for him, would go in and ask Pa for something and end up being chastised. The reconciliation. To manage it, Everett has to lean further over backward than he did in the toughest steps of the Clodhopper Glide. But that was the Charles Ray Screen character, naive, bashful, generous, and patient, the all-American boy from the country who makes good. Of course, today, directors would do the final kisses with more subtlety and considerably more passion. But in these pictures, it was all very satisfying, and still is. Everett and Mary leave to start their $1,088 home, ending 1917's The Clodhopper, starring Charles Ray, produced by Triangle and Thomas Ince. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. Her Torpedoed Love was a comedy of First World War U-boats and one of the most topical of the Senate comedies. Louise Fazenda. Wayland Trask. In his new Hudson limousine, the master of the house, with his butler, Philip No-Brains. The master is about to leave on a transatlantic vacation. The butler, played by Ford Sterling, has a scheme to get Louise's husband to go on the voyage, too. And sure enough, hubby gets the job as cabin boy. Hubby, of course, is completely unaware that the butler has an eye on Louise. Goodbye, I've got a great proposition in the steamship business. They tell me I'll clean up, signed hubby. Ford Sterling made 300 comedies during his 8 years at Keystone. He remained best known as the chin-whiskered head man of the Keystone Cops, even though he went on to important comedy leads at Paramount in the 1920s. His very last screen role in the late 1930s was a return to his Keystone Police chief role in a film paying tribute to Sennett. And here's what he's added to the note. P.S. I hope I drown before I see you again. Louise is staggered. He doesn't love me. What a cad. In 1914, Sterling got offers from other companies. Sennett, for protection, hired Charles Chaplin. Sterling stayed. One of Sennett's favorite formulas was that of cutting large men with small minds down to size. And now hubby is just where the butler would have wanted him, in irons. Before United States entry into the First World War, the U-boat menace was a popular topical theme for movies. It hadn't yet come close to home. But only Max Sennett could have devised a way of getting the U-boats and Keystone slapstick into the same movie. It's a credit to the national sense of humor at the time, too. The Lusitania had been sunk the year before, and when this picture came out, the Germans had just announced unrestricted sub-warfare. However, you'll have noted that in the film, the German U-boats are referred to only as submarine pirates. That's because the film was reissued in the 1920s, and the new distributors didn't want to stress its age, so they deleted references to its wartime period. Back home, the Victrola Wireless Company, messages delivered on record time. Lavender Star steamer torpedoed, all on board lost. Signed, A. Sparks, operator. Though Louise Fazenda was pretty, she was perfectly willing to play the ugly duckling. But his well-laid scheme miscarries. She won't even give him a little allowance on account. Louise's husband survived the torpedoing, little knowing that while he was in the sea floating alone, the double-dealing butler was trying to float alone from Louise. In fact, his scheme goes deeper than that. A mock marriage to Louise. Ford Sterling's early days were as slapdash as his pictures. As a boy, he ran away from home and toured as Kino the Boy Clown in an acrobatic circus. This is one of the rare instances where a Senate joke depended on a wordplay indicated only by title. The motivation for the chase is now set. Hubby has to chase the fake minister to prevent his wife from committing unintentional bigamy. Although Mabel Normand was the glamour gal comedienne of the Keystone Lot, Louise Fazenda was the outstanding slapstick lady clown. She'd started at $2.50 a day, playing extras when she was a Los Angeles high school student in 1913. Her pigtailed curls were her trademark. Senate once insured them for publicity for $10,000. Hubby catches the opportunist parson and then goes after the opportunist husband. Ford finally finds Louise's penny bank. So, naturally, she'll be after him now, too. Ford Sterling can't start this Sterling Ford 1914 model. The difference in speed between the old silent films and the present sound systems makes these films seem faster than when they were shot, but the fact that Max Sennett did most of the chase scenes at still faster speed makes many of the scenes difficult to follow. Such plot as we can follow is more than casually influenced by Tilly's Punctured Romance, the play which, in 1914, Sennett had turned into the movie's first feature-length comedy. Its basic storyline and characters were to serve Sennett well for many years to come. This is Santa Monica. Some Californians will claim the driving styles haven't changed. The powder keg naturally rolls right under the car. The master wasn't lost at sea either. And so they all pile into this 1912 Packard touring car and go off to the station house. Louise Fazenda went on to the 1930s and talkies. She married producer Hal Wallace and gained a reputation for selfless community spirit and service to charity. Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter-century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. For several years after Thomas Edison perfected the motion picture camera, pictures could be seen only on hand-cranked kinetoscopes. But in 1896, screens began to be used. This was one of the first pictures shown on a screen. Its entire plot consisted of a boy tying his dad's chair to the wringer on Mom's washtub. But it played at Coster and Biles Music Hall as one of the acts on the variety bill. It was just about the first intentionally comic picture and was no longer than this. In his first years with Biograph, D.W. Griffith came out with a temperance melodrama every few months. It was a subject much on his mind. The home of John Wharton. His wife and 8-year-old daughter eagerly await his return from work. Mrs. Wharton is played by Marion Leonard. Mr. Wharton. Now there'll be a jump cut because the original title didn't survive. It would have read After Supper, and Father feels better, or at least is more sober. That title is our own reconstruction. The AB monogram for American Biograph on the scenery in the background is a trademark to prevent pirating by unscrupulous exhibitors. Time after time, Griffith's stories showed neglected wives worrying in silence. The play within the play will be Émile Zola's L'Assommoir, and the scenes in this film were the first exposure of Zola drama to American audiences. At Ye Black Owl Inn, even the barmaids think there is too much drinking. The traveling temperance lecturer finds a ready-made audience. Several of the habitués take the pledge. Including the play's hero. But our movie's hero is not yet impressed. As Miss Temptation does her best to undo the groundwork of Mr. Temperance. Griffith constructed the film story to exactly parallel the play story. Griffith used the Biograph films to bring a higher literary level to the screen. The stories he directed incorporated Shakespeare, Tolstoy, and here, of course, Zola, by the neat device of the play within the movie. Just one. The Zola dramas were heavy and tragic, somewhat the French equivalent of Tolstoy, and Zola never exactly became a household word in America. But Zola's writing had a key influence on filmmakers. Renoir in France and in the United States, Erich von Stroheim, whose masterpiece, Greed, had a Zola-esque tragic naturalism. The next act. The little girl in the stage play is Adele Degarde, Biograph's first-string child actress, and the little Miss Wharton of the movie story is Gladys Egan. The advice of the doctor in the play seems to have been based on the still recognized theory that most alcoholics cannot turn toward cure until they have reached bottom. Hard as this may be on the concerned persons around him or her. Much more sophisticated, later feature films, The Lost Weekend, The Days of Wine and Roses, for example, were to be built around the same essential dramatic point of impact, seeing the subject alcoholic hit bottom. We don't learn whether the stage father is dead or may turn the corner toward recovery. But as the original biograph flyers put it, quote, "This sermon sinks deeper and deeper into the heart of Wharton." So at least one cure is brought about. The original title, missing here, read 2 years later, as Griffith showed the happy Whartons at home by the hearth. Would that all alcoholics could find recovery in merely attending a play like Zola's L'Assommoir, billed in 1909 as the most powerful temperance lecture ever depicted. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. The Americano will be presented in 3 Movie Museum programs. It is the story of the small, imaginary republic of Paragonia, hovering uneasily on the brink of revolution. President Valdez meets with his cabinet, which includes the recalcitrant and ambitious General Espada. Valdez proposes the renewal of a contract with an American mining company. Valdez prevails for the moment, and it is signed by the Prime Minister de Castile. Though made in 1916, the picture's setting is 1910. The head of the American Mining Company sends a letter to the Dean of Columbia School of Mines. "I have an opening in Paragonia for a young engineer. Need a live wire who can handle the temperamental Paragonians." We have a young fellow who is just what you want. An all-around chap, a regular American. A perfect description of Douglas Fairbanks, Sr. Fairbanks' first films, though loaded with action, were not strictly swashbucklers, in that he was in contemporary civilian dress. Waiting in the mining company outer office is the Prime Minister, Alberto de Castile Paragonia, CA, Central America. Castile, of course, was then one of the most popular name-brand soaps. The story, with its snappy titles, was the work of Anita Loos, who had learned film writing at Biograph. Miss Loos was later to become best known for smart comedies like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. She herself was a striking brunette. And in this story, Miss Luce has Doug's mind changed by another striking brunette, Alma Rubens, playing Juana, the daughter of President Valdez. I have been suddenly called home, but hope to return to New York in the near future. Alberto de Castile. Senor, when this reaches you, I shall have sailed for home. I beg of you, do not come to our unhappy country. Juana de Valdez. When danger or beauty awaited, Doug Fairbanks was always on the next boat. In Paragonia, he is watched intently by a mysterious old peddler. The policeman doesn't expect anyone to be able to get to the president. The insurgent enemies of President Valdez have overthrown his government. Stone walls for Doug Fairbanks did not a problem make. Juana is maintaining a low profile, literally. Go away, come back at midnight. The local branch office of the American Mining Company. The insurgents got there first. Another American, the company's caretaker, Dan Washington. Dan is played by Tom Wilson in blackface, still customary in 1916. Dictating General Espada is played by Carl Stockdale. General Garcia, head of the Army, is Charles Stevens, who was somewhat of a sidekick of Douglas Fairbanks and appeared in all his pictures. Although, so far at least, all he is doing is flirting with the cigarette girls, he is watched anxiously by both the mysterious old man and by General Espada. Follow me, a friend. The old peddler guides him into the neighborhood nunnery. Doug learns that President Valdez has been imprisoned and his villa sealed. The Prime Minister and Mrs. Castile have found refuge in the nunnery. He tells them he'll follow Juana's instruction and go to the Valdez villa that night. Our next Movie Museum program will be the second of the three-part presentation of The Americano. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. Part 2 of our three-part showing of The Americano, the dreaded San Mateo prison on the cliffs of the Banana Republic of Patagonia. President Valdez, prime target of the newest revolution, watches thoughtfully as the trash from his cell is thrown to the rocks below. Doug Fairbanks, as the newly arrived American mining engineer, and Dan Washington of the mining company's local office are trying to follow the instructions of the incarcerated president's daughter, Juana. To meet her at the Valdez Villa, also sealed off and guarded by the insurgents. Juana is played by Alma Rubens. They had met briefly in New York when a Paragonian mission engaged Doug to reopen the long-dormant Paragonian mines toward relieving local unemployment. But Juana has no information on the condition of her father or the progress of the revolution. President Valdez is played by the distinguished early film actor Spottiswoode Aitken. Doug had also first met Prime Minister Castile in New York at the outset. Now, during the revolution, Castile is not in prison, but is incognito. President Valdez, the prisoner, hopes at least one of the scraps with the mystery date will reach his would-be rescuers. Doug Fairbanks made a specialty, often assisted, as here, by writer Anita Luce, of impressing foreigners with the latest all-American idioms like the double O and the once-over. The rocky California coastline doubles here for the cliffs of the fictional Paragonia. November 1899. Of course, Castile, Doug, and Dan all wonder what the mysterious date in Valdez's writing means. Back to the Valdez Villa. 23 November 1899. On this day, the soldiers of the Republic, unable to resist an attack, escaped from San Mateo through an underground passage leading to the sea, and by means of boats joined the main army at Fort Christopher. Fortunately, the guard doesn't catch that the book she was really reading was the diary of President Valdez, her father, and that it is about to go out the window with Doug. The occasional blemishes are spots where the emulsion peeled off the surviving nitrate original. The usurper, General Espada. The revolutionists are already faced with a counter-revolution. Without even knowing of the American engineers' interest in Juana, Espada, to gain public support, plans for the Army head General Garcia to marry her. Doug Fairbanks and his lifetime friend Charles Stevens, who plays the menacing Garcia, greatly enjoyed playing good guy against bad guy in all the Fairbanks films. Juana's duenna now becomes the go-between. Douglas Fairbanks was to become best known for his swashbuckling costume pictures. But in his first 4 years of filmmaking, he made modern dress, tongue-in-cheek adventures, featuring the breezy, optimistic, all-American personality that he displays here in The Americano. The two head usurpers would be groom Army Chief Garcia and General Espada. The Americano, made with Doug by Triangle in 1916, especially interests film historians for having turned out to be a very close blueprint for the first big picture he would later make on his own, His Majesty the American, literally an elaborate remake of the Americano. Of course, as Doug races to the rescue of President Valdez in the San Mateo prison, he is intercepted by Espada's soldiers. We'll see the third and concluding part of the Americano in the next Movie Museum program. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. The third and concluding part of the Americano. Doug Fairbanks, in Paragonia, on a troubleshooting mission for an American mining company, has been caught in the pincers of a Banana Republic revolution and counter-revolution. On his way to try to rescue the ousted and jailed President Valdez, he has been arrested by the usurper, General Espada. The purged Prime Minister, Alberto de Castile, and Dan Washington, local caretaker for the American Mining Company, are at the secret tunnel under the San Mateo prison, where President Valdez is imprisoned by Espada's orders. With Espada is Army head General Garcia. The Americano is one of the brisk, modern dress adventure films Doug made with Triangle after leaving the New York stage. From Triangle, he would go to Paramount, and then on his own to make the costume swashbucklers for which he was to be best remembered. Usurper General Espada is played by Carl Stockdale, and his Army head Garcia by Charles Stevens, who played in every Doug Fairbanks film. Doug was to have rendezvoused with Castile and Dan at 9 p.m., and it's almost that now. President Valdez in his cell still doesn't know whether his secret messages dropped down the cliff have been received by his would-be rescuers. The cryptic messages from Valdez had indeed gotten through and had pointed out to Doug the existence of the underground passage through which, in 1899, 10 years earlier, some previous prisoners had escaped from the San Mateo cell block to the edge of the sea below. They chip away at the rocks and mortar where the secret passage was filled in after the 1899 escape. Senorita Juana, daughter of the overthrown President Valdez, is of course the girl Doug has his own eye on. Lovely Alma Rubens, who plays Juana, was to meet even worse fortune in real life. She was to be one of the Hollywood personalities victimized by dope addiction at about the time sound came in. Much as later generations came to recall Doug Fairbanks as an agile he-man, his successes against overwhelming odds came through brain as much as brawn. The elaborate palaces and courtyards we've been seeing all the way through the Americano were not constructed sets, but buildings set up for the Mexican Exposition of 1916 and borrowed for this movie. The San Mateo Cliffs are the rocky Pacific shores, not far from Hollywood. soldiers and Valdez supporters are surprised and glad to see their president. Expert screenwriter Anita Luce wraps up her well-constructed, if rather fanciful, story with several neat twists. She does indeed. She marries the new head of the Army, whose best man is Dan Washington, played by Tom Wilson. The Americano was so well-liked that Doug virtually remade it 3 years later as His Majesty the American. Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter-century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Kiliam collection. It's always fun to come across the very earliest appearances of established stars. Here is Wallace Beery in 1916. Dear Reggie, with an empty purse but a heart full of love, I wait your return, signed Pearl. P.S. If you love me, please wear my picture nearest your heart. Consistently with all Wally's later characterizations, even in 1916, he took orders from no one. In this Keystone film, The Oily Schemer, Wally is craved not only by note writer Pearl, but by Louise Fazenda, who has come in from the country with her pet goose. All that Wally craves about Louise is her nest egg. Here is Pearl, and she has expensive tastes, which is why Wally can't afford her. Yet. Now that he has Louise's money, he can take up again with Pearl. In real life, Wally's first wife was Gloria Swanson, at just about this time when Gloria herself was in Keystone comedies like this one. Beery's career peak was to be with MGM in the 30s and 40s, but his brash, grumpy, but likable character was pretty well shaped as early as 1916. Blind Love, described by Biograph in 1912 as the baleful result of ostentation and flattery. The titles don't survive, so we'll give the story a little more support than usual. Country boy David gets ready for a date with his childhood sweetheart. Jack, the town's playboy, home from college, gets a quick drink at the window bar of the local justice of the peace. Dave's girl is played by Blanche Sweet. She and Dave are going to the church lawn party. The hardest work Jack does all day is coaxing pocket money from his disapproving uncle, who is the minister. Blanche likes Eddie, or Dave, but thinks he's dull. He's played by Eddie Dillon. They meet Jack at the bazaar, and Blanche walks off with Jack. Charles Dana's classic collar ad drawings portrayed the male ideal at the time, so audiences accepted this. A blind organ grinder happens along. Jack recklessly invites the organ man into the party. In the pre-electronic era, organ grinders proliferated. The 1912 moral code was strict even on dancing at church bazaars, and the minister proscribes his own nephew. Blanche stands by Jack. And poor Dave realizes he has lost his girl. Again, quoting from the original scenario, his easy manners and good clothes make quite an impression on the unsophisticated girl, and it is with slight persuasion she consents to elope with him that evening. But first, Blanche goes in to pack her bag. She hides her suitcase from her father, realizing he would not approve of Jack as a son-in-law. She is too much in love to care and rushes to her lover without a thought for either her parents or her rejected and dejected old beau, Dave. In addition to spirits, the Justice of the Peace dispenses marriage certificates. In real life, Blanche Sweet was the wife of Marshall Nealon, who was to become one of the most important movie directors of the 20s. We have inserted a few titles newly to help bridge the passage of time. Another entry in the biograph scenario provides, quote, "The result of the girl's misjudgment is the inevitable, for the man proves to be a scapegrace." Again, an organ grinder appears. In fact, it's the same one. Back to the scenario. Meanwhile, the girl, through pride, pretends in her letters home to be doing well, unquote. The landlord knows better. Trying to steal the blind man's receipts, Jack is stabbed. So much more often it happens the other way around. Director Griffith had a separate irony in mind, the sightless gypsy, in contrast to Blanche's lack of vision in picking a husband. The compliancy of the landlord is a refreshing break from the melodramatic tradition. He even gave her a stamp for her letter. Jack is dead. It's a little hard to tell whether this letter from Blanche tells her family she is still happy with Jack, or happy she is leaving Jack. The scenario read, Dave has his misgivings and decides to pay them a visit. But first, he says goodbye to his own family. The scenario goes on. The result of this visit by Dave is a startling revelation. And shortly, the girl is made to realize faithful Dave's true worth. Some of Blanche Sweet's off-camera battles with director D.W. Griffith at Biograph were almost as dramatic. At one time, Griffith was so displeased with her acting that he literally booted her off the set. Blanche, the story goes, always begged his forgiveness. Blanche had appeared on Broadway as a child as far back as 1902, was given increasingly important assignments by Griffith, including his first four-reeler, Judith of Bethulia, and ultimately became one of the silent screen's most popular dramatic actresses. She was to be particularly effective in a 1923 version of O'Neill's Anna Christie. As children who ignore parental advice rarely come to a good end in films, this picture, Blind Love, survives as a most mature and meaningful story for its day. Blanche Sweet remained a top screen favorite for many years. After talkies came in, she returned to the stage, and in the mid-40s, in These Endearing Young Charms, she seemed almost as young as in this film. 1912's Blind Love by American Biograph.